Exactly 1 year ago, I made a video where I ranked every single West End marquee. It's the first thing you see when you walk towards a theatre, it's a great marketing tool, and honestly, they just look quite pretty. But since making that video, a lot of shows have closed, a lot of shows have opened. My opinion on some of the ones that have stayed the same have mellowed as well. So it felt right a year later that I return to the list to rank it once more. And just for fun, throw in some extra off West End theatres we can talk about. This is every single West End theatre marquee ranked. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie, I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet, and I've also been gone for like 2 weeks because I've moved. I don't know if you noticed. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets, rankings, game shows, and so much more. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me out the channel. But let's dive into every single West End theatre's marquee. So, what am I ranking? I am ranking West End marquees. The marquee specifically relates to the show marketing on the outside of the building, but also within this, I will take into account architecture of the building and just how it looks in general. As I mentioned, I've added a bunch of additional off-West End venues that aren't technically West End, but are close enough. I've only picked a handful of these. There'll be more to add in future ranking videos as well. I'll just slowly build it up more and more and more as I feel like it. But mostly I've gone with off-West End theatres that have enough of a marquee to talk about, so it doesn't feel like it's really fighting to stay alongside the big dogs, you know? I am ranking these all based on the current tenants of the theatres. There are two exceptions to this. One is the current tenant of the Wyndhams that I'm ranking, which is Bournemouth Teeth, has now closed. I don't know if all my sons have gone up onto that marquee, but just because this video is coming out so much later than I wanted it to, I'm just going to stick with Bournemouth Teeth. And the other one is that I will not discuss or platform the show currently playing at the Palace Theatre because of the author's views on trans people. I do not wish to platform a show that is funding harm towards my community. With all that said, last year I ranked these alphabetically and did it against each other. This year I'm doing it slightly differently, where I already have my ranking going in, and I'm going to start at the bottom and work towards the top. We now have 47 marquees to rank with our additional 8 theatres, and we're going to start at the bottom with a theatre that I wish managed to get a little bit higher than it did, but it's just working with so little, and honestly I did consider removing it from the list, but 47 is the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. I think it looks nice for what they're working with. Being an open air venue, they really don't have much. They have a small entrance in the middle of the park, which has 3 show posters, typically cycling through the season of what's coming up. And as well as this really lovely kind of decal design. This leafy texture by the wall where you get your bag searched and taken through. It looks okay. It looks fine. But when I'm thinking about architecture, when I'm thinking about everything else, even if I try and give it the benefit of the doubt of it's got so little space to work with, which I'm trying to do with a couple of these off-West End venues so they can fight in this a little bit more, it's just really underwhelming. Obviously, I'm not expecting loads and loads of space, but it's also the case of they've got so many shows in their season. The best way to kind of have it constantly going for the season is to platform them all at the same time, which means that each show doesn't really get its moment. And I want a little bit more than just a little poster. I want something that I can really take a photo of and be with, and that's the one thing about the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. Whenever I go, I'm always wanting a little bit more of a photo op. They do sometimes have some inside the actual park, inside the space and the outdoor space that you enter into, but I want like a nice poster. I want something a bit nicer outside the front that feels like I can take a photo of it and put it on my story and really have it there. It looks fine, it's passable, but I do think it's at the bottom of this list. Number 46 is the Troubadour Canary Wharf, the newest theatre on this list, and that's why I think it's so disappointing that it lands so low. The only thing that this building currently has to advertise their current show, The Hunger Games, to my knowledge, is the giant Mockingjay on the top of the building, which is really, really cool, but come on, I want so much more. You have custom built this space. You were able to plan this so much more, And a lot of the mock-ups and the planning permissions from this venue seems so much cooler than the photos I'm seeing. Obviously, they have opened now, and I felt like that was fair game to judge the venue, but a lot of the photos that I've got, and a lot of what I'm seeing, is the theatre still being built. Like, they haven't finished actually making the venue by the time the show is opened. So there is a possibility that they may add more, that there's plans to build it up in the future, but I can only judge it on what it's got right now. And I think if it didn't have the Mockingjay on the top, this would be straight to the bottom. Like, even I can give Regent's Park the credit of, okay, you haven't really got the space to work with, but this 100% has the space to work with. The Mockingjay is really cool. It's really, really cool. But I don't know, I want a lot more. I want a lot more, especially with a huge commercial show like The Hunger Games. I want more. Number 45, and I'm so glad it's not actually at the bottom this year, but yeah, I can't push it any higher. I do want to, but it's the art. I think the thing that makes a couple of these off-West End venues rank higher than the arts is mainly due to the fact I don't really like the architecture of the arts very much. I think the red brick is nice. I like the windows a bit, but I feel like it just doesn't really look as grandiose as some of the other West End venues. This is one of the venues that kind of snuck into being West End. It was classed as off West End for so long, and then suddenly was pushed up. And I feel like it kind of shows that, especially when you compare it to other West End venues. In terms of the poster placement, it's nice, and they've added, since last year, new stickers on the windows, which I think congeals it all together a bit more, but there's so many distractions on that building that kind of take you away from it looking as one whole. Like the staircase down to the underground space at the front, the doors, it looks a bit disconnected. I did consider pushing it slightly higher than a couple of the other ones because it platforms the show a lot more, and I like the glitter board and everything, but the arts is never really going to be my favourite, unless they really pull it together during its renovation, which is coming up soon. Number 44, Eventim Apollo. The Eventim Apollo is a theatre that struggles on this list for the only fact of there's absolutely no poster board at all. The only thing that they changed from show to show at this venue is the strip along the kind of top of the entrance, which will change to a title of a show or an act, because the Eventim Apollo is more commonly used as a venue for one-night shows or comedians, so it's understandable that the venue doesn't really have too many posters. But the reason I'm holding it more against it is because year after year, they have been having this summer season where they like to put a musical in. We had Only Fools and Horses, we had 101 Dalmatians, we had Shrek. There's a lot of musicals that are finding themselves going into this venue, and every single time I'm so disappointed about how little space they have to play with. When you've got a show like Shrek, which is very much appealing to a younger demographic, when you've got a show like 101 Dalmatians, which is appealing to a younger demographic, you want that spectacle, and you want the theming of the marquee. I don't think it's very fitting to go and see a show like Shrek here and just see it in the same red text. I feel like it's a little bit lackluster. I think it worked for some other venues that we'll speak about a little bit later because they're aiming for a slightly more adult demographic. Whereas I feel like this theatre could maybe do something a little bit more, even if they changed the colour of the letters. If they brought out green letters for Shrek, I would give it a couple more points because at least they'd thought about it and thought about the space that they have and how they could use it. With that said, I think it does rank higher than some of the other ones just because of the architecture of the building. I love how it looks. The rainbow lighting up the top, stunningly gorgeous, but equally so, if you're having a show like 101 Dalmatians in there or something like that, could you not light it in the colours of the show? I don't know. I feel like I'm asking for more than they can give here. And I do have to admit, it's a gorgeous looking building, but it just, in terms of marquee, really falls flat. Number 43, Troubadour Wembley Park. Now, this venue is the most shed-looking theatre I have ever seen. I think if the architecture was any nicer, I could push this higher. It is being carried to this placement entirely by the decal on the building currently, because it does look very nice. I like the rainbow theme of it. I like the logo of Starlight Express. I like the train that's flowing. I love the rainbow lighting, and especially looks nice in the dark when it's fully lit with the rainbow entrance. But there's no denying this is a shed. This is a little shack. And I feel like you can slap as much onto that building as you want, but you're going to have the best marquee in the world to get any higher than where I can rank it right now. In general, with this ranking, I want to place more emphasis on the marquee rather than the architecture, because I'm ranking it based on that, really. The architecture is an added element, and there are some theatres that are massively pushed up, massively shot higher than they should be, just because I really like the look of the building, and it can help. But the most important thing for me is how they're platforming the show, and I think here they've done a good job, as good as a job they can probably do with a space like this. So that's why I would put it above something like the Arts or the Eventim. But if I'm being perfectly honest, this would probably be the very bottom of the list if I was ranking it based on how it looked for something like Newsies. Number 42, The Other Palace. The Other Palace has one thing that I understand why they do it, but it really annoys me when it comes to ranking it with this list. And that is the fact that they platform shows that aren't open yet on their marquee. They have this really gorgeous looking building. I love the glass panels as you enter. I love how modern it looks in so many ways. I think it's an off-West End venue that actually does have a lot of elements that can stand up against the big dogs here. But when it comes to the actual marquee, there's just so little to talk about here. They have this tiny little strip underneath their top floor windows, which platform a couple of upcoming shows. So right now they got 51st Dates and they have whatever's in their studio, but they also have Kenrex on there, and it's like, that's not open yet. I really wish that they would just give the whole like main strip. If they took like the section on there that is currently taken up by 51st Dates and Kenrex and made it a whole display for 51st Dates, I think it would look a little bit better and a little bit more cohesive. I don't mind them having a little section of that dedicated to the studio show, because, you know, I think it's important to platform that in that space as well, but I just wish they wouldn't platform their next show as well. I want the shows that are currently in there to have their moment, you know? And I think it does look nice, and I think it does look pretty, and I could see an argument for pushing it a little bit higher than it is, but on the whole, this is where I feel like it goes. I like the Other Palace logo, I like how it looks in that building, I like so many elements of this, but it's the marquee that brings it down for me personally. It's the marquee of it all. 41, The Old Vic. Now, when I was speaking about theatres that can get away with it by just having text on there, red text on there, because they're aiming their shows for a slightly older demographic, it's the Old Vic. The Old Vic is a gorgeous building. It's a very, very old theatre. I think it's about 200 years old. It is old. And I do think it shows it in a couple of the elements, but it looks gorgeous. It looks so stunning. The pillars at the entrance, the faded Old Vic logo towards the top, the windows, I think it looks very lovely. And what's also going for this theatre, and why I do think it ranks a little bit higher than some of the other ones, is the fact that they do have their digital screens at the bottom that flick through showings of what's currently in there, some production photos, as well as like membership and some other things to do with the venue, because the venue is not for profit. I think it's a really easy theatre to get photos of. I do like the red text on there, but I do wish there was a little bit more customization with it. In a similar way, I do wish they could change the colour of the lettering sometimes. Could you imagine Mary Payne's Marlowe on there in blue? I would love that. But they've got a gimmick, they stick to it, so I can't complain too much. I do think the building looks very gorgeous. I do think it's quite nice. I do think the screens help it stand up against some of the other venues here, but yeah, I feel like this is where I would place it. Number 40, The Adelphi. The Adelphi is a theatre that I want it to rank so much higher than I feel like I can place it, and it's a shame. I think Back to the Future looks really nice on that theatre. I love the poster on there. I love the extra touches that they have, like with their shutter that they always spray paint. This time being the front of the DeLorean, and then you go back to the stage door and see their shutter. It's the back of the DeLorean. Really fun touch. I mean, you're only going to see that shutter if you're at the theatre on the day that it's closed, so, I mean, how many extra points can we really give it? I just think they're working with so little space, and the architecture is not giving it any points here. I don't love the placement of the elements, the window feels really out of place. There's a lot of shows, including Back to the Future, that never really fit onto the sideways panel that they have. So when I weigh everything up, it ranks a little bit lower here. I could see an argument for it going underneath the Old Vic as well, honestly. But I feel like the poster and everything, and just holding up the marquee of it all, brings it just about here. Number 39, The Old Witch. This theatre I ranked really low last year, and I felt really bad about it. Because I felt like it deserved to be a little bit higher than I gave it credit for. And now they've given us a version of the marquee that brings us straight back to, oh, actually, no, the placement was right for this version of the marquee. So Tina used to be in this theatre, and it had this really lovely decal at the front of the Tina logo that looked really, really nice. That is now gone, and I feel like it's really noticeable. This is a marquee where it feels really lopsided. They have one poster board for Elf on one side, and it's not on the other side. If there was two poster boards on this theatre, it would be so much higher. I like the yellow paneling on there, even if I feel like it's a little bit disjointed with Elf on there. I think the architecture is absolutely gorgeous. I will say this is a theatre that is an absolute nightmare to get a photo of. There is no good placement to get a good photo of the Old Witch, because on the most awkward street corner, and there's this like one tree on the other side of the street that loves to cover the actual marquee, which you can see in all of my photos. But it makes me wish for so much more. It makes me wish for so much more. Number 38, the Harold Pinter. The Harold Pinter I feel very similar in many ways to how I feel about the Old Witch. This is a playhouse, so I'm not really expecting much flash, you know? I want to know what play I'm seeing and go in and go out. I'm not expecting so many posters and everything, and I feel like the Harold Pinter gives you just enough. And this is a theatre that has helped massively by architecture. I love the paneling on the building, I love the statues in some of the fake windows. It looks very pretty. And there's so many little touches on the building of the small poster boards around, the actual panel above the doors. I feel like this is a theatre that I would describe as serviceable. It is a serviceable marquee. It does the job, and there's not much more I would say on it than that. Number 37, the Trafalgar. Oh my god. I, last year, spoke about the Trafalgar, and I was like, oh, I don't really understand this marquee. I think there's so many elements about it that I don't really like, and I can't really put words to it properly. And then they had Clueless, and I understood the marquee because they changed one part about it that I really disliked, and it's those middle windows. Those middle windows really annoy me, and I worked out it was that. But for Clueless, they covered it with this checked, like the pattern of Cher's most iconic dress in that musical. And it looks so much nicer, it looks so much more cohesive. It's a very Broadway-style marquee, I feel, which is why I think it stands out a lot against some of the London ones. And I do think it has a lot of nice elements to it. I like the main poster boards up the sides. I don't think the architecture is anything amazing, really, but it does look a little bit more cleaned up since its renovation. And the lights underneath the main cover structure is very Broadway. And actually, we have been seeing this come into play with a lot more of the renovated West End marquees, having the panel of lights underneath the main entrance. It's a new feature that's been added to the Dominion. And if you look over to Broadway, it's very reminiscent of something like the Palace as well. But if I was able to rank Clueless, this would be landing much more towards the middle of the list. It would rank so much higher. But for Clarkston, I feel like it's gone back a little bit, which is understandable for the show that's in there, but I want so much more. It could do so much more. I think Clueless just had these little touches that really made me understand what that marquee could be, and we've gone straight back. Number 36, we have the Royal Court. You would be surprised how high the Royal Court ranks when you compare it to some of the other off-West End venues I've discussed on here. Because if you look at it, you're like, Ellie, what are you talking about? It's a red sign on top of a building. But I think the touches that this building has really push it a little bit higher for me. First of all, I think this is one of the most gorgeous off-West End venues architecturally. I think if you're asking me, like, forget about the Marquee, which one looks the best, I would say the Royal Court. But it looks so grandiose and stunning, and as you enter Sloane Square and look upon this, it really stands out, and it's really impactful. There's so many little touches on this that I really like. This is a theatre that is constantly bringing in new work, and I love the fact that their Marquee always features the name of the writer as well of the piece. I think that's such a lovely touch. I've got it here with not a current tenant, just because this theatre always look quite similar. I put on Cowboys, which is the last time I went to the Royal Court, which tells you I really need to go back to the Royal Court sometime soon. They've just announced a really exciting new season with John Proctor as the villain and the Afronauts. There's a lot of really cool things going into there, so I'm due some return visits soon. But I love the bright colours of the logo. I love the reds at the top and at the bottom. The architecture, it's really stunning. If there were more show posters, this would be so much higher. But I understand this is a venue that would really struggle with that. And unlike somewhere like the Eventim Apollo, it's bringing in work that I feel like doesn't really need that. Number 35, the Apollo. I wish I could push the Apollo a little bit higher than it is, because I do think it's a really gorgeous theatre, and I really like how Punch looks on that building. I think the architecture is stunning. I love the statues at the top. I just think the building as a whole looks a little bit faded a bit. I don't like the panel underneath the main marquee bit. It has a couple of poster boards, and it looks okay. It's probably one of those marquees that I hold up and I go, this is fine. This is like the most perfectly serviceable marquee that you can give me. I think Punch looks really good on that building. I think the orange of it really pops. But other than that, yeah, I could push it higher, but I don't know, it would take a little bit of reinvention and like a little bit of play with the building to push it higher. There's another theatre on this list that I feel very similar about, but it's given itself a touch to the Marquee that's pushed it so much higher than it maybe should probably be, but this is where I fall on the Apollo. 34, the Noel Coward. Again, I like the architecture, but the actual Marquee is fine. I think the pink on the Noel Coward and when it's lit up is what's pushed this a little bit higher. I love the kind of new. It was on the last year's rankings, so it's at least a year old. The Noel Coward sign that they've added to the front there. I love the paneling on the building. I love the placement of the Noel Coward symbol. And it looks so good in pink. Now, I said it looks good in pink. I think it looks good in pink. But again, similar to the Apollo, it's not the most flashy marquee. It's good. It's good. Number 33, the Duchess. The Duchess is helped so much by its current tenant, because I think if it was any other show in this theatre, the Duchess would be ranking probably around the same placement as like the Old Witch. It's fine. It's a very serviceable marquee. I think the architecture building is a little bit dated. There's these window panels that look okay, but it's nothing that looks really, really gorgeous, unlike something like the Noel Coward, which I think looks stunning architecturally. But the reason that the Duchess ranks so much higher, and honestly, I gave it too much credit for this last year, and I've kind of settled it more to about here, is the fact that the marquee itself, stunning. It is the current home to the play that goes wrong, and it is played with how you can get a marquee wrong. The poster board is backwards. The name of the play is constantly misspelt. They have these really fun poster boards at the front that encourage you to take photos with it, which is great for photo ops as well. It's so playful. It's so funny. They've used every single bit of space they could find on that building to play with and flash it up and make it look better than it actually is, which I feel like pushes a marquee that should rank a lot lower, a lot higher. Number 32, the Victoria Palace. I wish this marquee looked better than it did, because the building itself is drop dead gorgeous. It is so good. The statue at the top, the paneling, the renovation they did to this building has just spruced it up and given it so much life. And even like a couple years after the renovation, I mean, Hamilton's been in that venue for what? like 5 years now, probably a little bit over that. It can't be 5 years, that would have been 2020, like 7 years now. It still looks very, very good. But where I think Hamilton falls a little bit flat is within how it platforms the show. There's touches on here that I feel like make up for it, like the wall of portraits that go along the side. But there's one touch from this building that they lost during the renovation that I feel like would just pull this whole thing together. And those are the two poster boards that used to sit at the side of the main structure. Because right now, I think the Hamilton logo that they've got on their building looks so simple. I want the star. I want that. And I understand that if you do too much with it, you would lose some of the gorgeous architectural touches of the pane that sits atop that window. The almost like stained glass. It's not stained glass, but it's like it's very biblical in a way. But the window decal of it, you'd lose some of that. But I want the show to be platformed a little bit more. And I feel like the way that you can do that is if you add the poster boards back at the side. Because there you could have the Hamilton logos in its entirety. And yeah, I don't know. Because Billy Elliot, if you compare it to Billy Elliot, the previous tenant, Billy Elliot looks so much better. If I was ranking Billy Elliot and how that show looked on that marquee, it would rank probably more towards like 12. Like, that's how strong Billy Elliot was. And that's how much like these little touches really affect this theatre. Because the Victoria Palace is so gorgeous and I want so much more from it. Number 31, His Majesty's Theatre. Again, a theatre that looks so stunningly gorgeous. And I think it looks even better than the Victoria Palace, and that's the only reason it ranks higher, because I think in terms of marquee, it's worse, which I think it is telling how strong this building is from an architecture standpoint. From, like, just the building itself, this is one of my favourites. If I was ranking just on the buildings itself, this would be, like, top 5. The problem is, Phantom of the Opera has been at this venue for 39 years now, and still there's so little decal in that building. There's some other theatres that I'll speak about a little bit higher onto the list, like the Duke of York's, that I feel like have worked with these pillars a little bit better by adding the sideways poster board things. And I feel like that's what Phantom needs. But I feel like they're just a little bit worried about covering up some of the building to a point where I feel like it's a slight detriment. Because all they've got in terms of Phantom stuff on there is the tiny sliver of boards on that. If I zoom back from the theatre, you can barely tell Phantom is there. It has some nice posters that run along the bottom there, so there are photo ops against the building. And as I said, it looks so good. I just want a little something. I want a big Phantom logo on there somewhere, please. But I understand if it's been 39 years and they still haven't added one, it's probably not happening. Number 30, a theatre that was ranked like second to last year and has like risen all the way up because I think I underestimated it and it was a show in there that I really didn't like the marquee of. We have the Theatre Royal Haymarket. Now, Haymarket has a similar flaw to some of these other theatres where it doesn't have the space to play with. The only thing that they can do in terms of marquee is have these banners that sit towards the side. If you're looking at the theatre straight on from across the street, you can barely tell what show is in there because there's just these giant pillars that almost push it straight out into the middle of the street. But the architecture is gorgeous. The architecture is stunning. Oh my god, it is grandiose. And I feel like for a playhouse, as it is most of the time, it gets away with this. Like, it looked weird for shows like Heathers, where it feels like that show wants a little bit more. But for something like Othello that's currently there, this looks great, and I feel like it looks amazing in red. I underestimated this theatre a lot last year. And I think shows like Till the Stars Come Down and Othello, obviously, have looked really good in that venue. I want a little bit more. I feel like if this theatre had a little something more, it could push a bit higher, but it's just a simple case of there is literally nothing else this theatre can do. Unlike something like His Majesty's, where I'm like, you could add a poster board on those pillars up there. There is nothing else this theatre can do. Number 29, the Young Vic. This, I believe, is our highest ranked off-West End venue, which you'd be really surprised about if you look at it, because this is a very unassuming theatre. What I think this theatre has going for it is that I feel like that rustic feel really fits the work that this theatre puts out. So yes, if you hold this up against His Majesty's Theatre, you can tell which one looks nicer. But the Young Vic has so much character to it, and I feel like it manages to platform its shows the best out of every single one of these, like, venues that has ongoing seasons. On this structure that sits towards the side of the venue, they have this one banner that flows down, giving you a nice central big poster to get a photo of. And then towards the bottom of that, they have this row of posters that run along the edge of the building that are usually a bit more stylized. And I feel like these little touches just come together to give me what I want out of these off-West End venues. Like, this is really good. You've used the space well. You've platformed the show that's currently in there. You're not like the other Palace where you're platforming a bunch of shows in your upcoming season in, like, the main and the only space you've got to platform your current show. I think there's elements of it that could be improved, but it's good. I do really enjoy the Young Vic. Number 28, the Wyndham's Theatre. Classic theatre. It's good. It's very good. The architecture, very nice. Very, very stunning. The windows look very nice. The paneling and everything. I think this is a theatre that platforms the shows just enough, which is okay. It's serviceable for what it gives us. But some of the placement of these decals are a little bit awkward. Like, you kind of have to take a photo of this theatre at, like, a sideways glance, otherwise you can't really see the main bits of poster board. They've added this screen along the front, this digital screen that I feel like brings it together quite well. It's good. It's very good. It's a very good theatre. About, like, nice average. I feel like this is like what I like my theatres to strive towards. To be, like, good, but, like, not like drop dead gorgeous. Number 27, we have the Vaudeville, currently home to 6. Yeah, last year I ranked this one way too low. I feel like there's not much space that this theatre has to work with, but I think it does exactly what it needs to do with that space. The glitter board looks really nice, and honestly, I'm realising that we're kind of running out of glitter boards in the West End. Last year we had so many lovely glitter boards, and now it feels like 6 is one of the only ones, so give me more glitter boards, because 6 looks great. The posters on the edge look nice, and they use literally every single little bit of space they can to put a poster up to platform all of their 6 queens, plus their understudies as well. We love that. The windows look nice, the architecture is okay and passable. I feel like it's pushed up a little bit higher by just how much I like 6, honestly, and how nice the purple looks in that venue, matching with the blue of the stained glass window logo. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I don't have much more to say. Number 26, we have at Soho Place. The newest West End theatre on this list, because Canary Wharf is the newest, but that's off West End. This is the newest West End one. And it looks very modern. You can very easily tell this is the newest West End venue. It is almost entirely glass, and it looks very, very nice. They've got 2 screens on the edges that allow for very quick changes between shows when they close. There's a lot of paneling and other screens for the At Soho Place logo, which allows them also to update these. They have a very special, like, Pride one that they have every June, where the logo turns to a rainbow. It's very cute, very, very that. And I think Every Brilliant Thing looks really great on here. One thing that they've been using for Every Brilliant Thing that I've really appreciated is that this is a show that has a revolving cast and different posters for each of these cast members. And because they've got all these digital screens on the building, they've been able to change the screen to match the current cast member performing that night. So on their main board, obviously my one's Johnny Donahue because that's who I saw in the show. But if you go and see it currently, that'd be Minnie Driver. If you saw it with Lenny Henry, for instance, it would have been him, which I think is a great use of those screens and a great way that it makes their marquee quite malleable. I don't normally love screens amazingly well. I think sometimes the entire theatre just being screens can be a little bit too much, but this is a nice touch. And the screens are quite easy to take photos of, so it's not too bad. It's a nice, modern-looking theatre that I very much enjoy. Number 25, the Duke of York's. This theatre I battle with a little bit, because it's very, very good, and sometimes it's just pulled down by... It just doesn't have too much going for it in terms of marquee. But on the other hand, this is kind of what I want His Majesty's to look like a little bit more, where it's got this gorgeous architecture. You don't want to cover up too much, so you only use the little touches. The main poster board looks great on there, and stereophonic with the slight reds and burgundy touches, almost a little bit pinkish, looks really good. I just think when you look at it as a whole, it really does come together so well. The cream of the building, it looks really well kept. It's one I didn't give as much credit to last year, but actually taking another look, I'm like, yeah, this is stunning. And when it's lit up as well, when you see it at night, when it's really popping with the colour, oh, stunning. Number 24, the Palladium, the London Palladium. Now, I think this is a theatre where it's good. They have one screen at the top of the door where it changes around and it tells you what show's in there. It's a theatre that's been built for one-night performances. But unlike the Eventum Apollo, you can tell those one-night performances are given a lot of spotlight. I don't think the screen looks amazing for every show. I think it looks quite nice for Evita, actually, and they changed it around quite a lot and added production photos onto that rolling banner. It looked quite nice, and the blue and the yellow and the white, gorgeous. But, you know, I was wanting a little something more, and that's the thing about the Palladium. I'm always left wanting a little something more when it comes to the marquee. When it comes to the architecture, look, I spent a long time staring at that balcony as we all did this summer, and it is one of the most gorgeous and most iconic pieces of a West End marquee. The lights, the windows, the pillars and the panels and everything. It is so grandiose. You have the statues at the top. It is a gorgeous looking building. And if you head round to the side, you also have the Wall of Fame around the back, near the stage door, which I'm honestly going to say probably doesn't count, but we can give it credit for that as well. It's very, very good, but there's a couple more touches that I wish it had that would push it a lot higher than it currently stands. It's just for a theatre of this nature, it can't really do much with it. Number 23, the Lyceum. Very similar in many ways to the Haymarket, but the Lyceum has a lot of additional touches that they have because of the nature of the space. They have a lot more space towards the side past the main pillar section, which means they have a lot more space for posters. They have a nice panel on there, which has the Lion King logo. They have banners at the sides. It feels a lot more together. Whereas the Haymarket doesn't really have the space to add these extra touches. The Lyceum managed to do that. If the Haymarket managed to do this would be about the same placement. I just wish for the Lion King they were able to have something a bit bigger. It feels like that type of show that really wants that big decal of a lion, I don't know, or something, like the logo. But what they do with the space is good, and the architecture of the building, oh my god. The pillars, the logo at the top, the shape of it all, it is grandiose. Gorgeous work. Number 22, the St. Martin's Theatre. Currently home to the longest running play in the West End, The Mousetrap. With 73 years in the West End, the Mousetrap marquee has become very iconic. It is this logo that is lit up in neon, which is changed every year to reflect how many years it's been in the West End. It's a great gimmick and really allows each time you go to this theatre to feel more unique. I like the stained glass window paneling on the logo there. I like the windows. They have nice paneling along the side, which gives some more space for some additional posters, which I feel like brings it together a little bit more. It's not like the theatre I'll go home and write about, but I feel like a lot of these touches do a very strong job at giving you what you need. It's not like the most spectacular, but I think the touches it does have go a long way. 21, the Garrick, currently home to the Producers, which does look okay on that marquee. The logo in the white and the red and the black looks good. And there's some really fun touches on that marquee that play with the humour of the show, like the poster board that just says, we only had the budget for this one poster, which is so funny and so in touch with the Producers. As you learn from my opinions on the Play It Goes Wrong marquee, I love a marquee that is very thematic to a show. But I think without the large Why Am I So Single neon lights that they had last time, I feel like this is a more fair placement for the Garrick. Its architecture is really lovely, and it's a very expansive building. It's got a lot of space to play with, and I do think they play with it well. We have several poster boards, some windows up there. There's a couple of extra touches that they normally do at this point in a show where they add extra things to some of the windows at the top they still haven't done yet to the producers, to my knowledge, that I'd like them to add. And if they did add, maybe it could go 1 or 2 spots higher. But I love their balcony, I love their doors and the blue of them striking against the white of the building. It looks good. It's a very good marquee. But I've seen it at its best, and I know what it can do. Number 20, Theatre Royal Drury Lane. Now, this is a theatre where the architecture is doing everything for it here, because this is one of the most gorgeous West End theatres ever. Oh my god, the brown panel at the top, the shape of it, the several balconies, the pillars going down. It is stunning. It is a huge space. The thing about it is, and the reason that it only manages to rank here really, is the fact that, well, it doesn't really do an amazing job at platforming the current show. This is another theatre that often does one-night-only performances. I think they've been doing them a lot less with Hercules in there because of the demands of that theatre and how they've got those pillars on that stage. But it's only really got that one screen on there, and I think when they used to do it with the boards at the side, they were a lot more creative. I want a lightning strike board on the edge of the building. I want something a little bit more, especially with a commercial show like Hercules. There is so much more you can give, and you can't tell me there's not the space for it, because you've got so much space on this building. Some of the renovations that they've made and some of the things they brought back may impede some of the stuff that they used to do, but there's definitely a way to do it, and I feel like it's a bit of a shame. It's good enough, I feel, to get it to here, but if it had those additional touches that some of these other marquees had, this would be a top 10. This would be a top 10. 19, the Cambridge. Now, I think the Cambridge is very, very good. I think the Matilda poster looks great. The pop out of the logo is stunning. The sideways panels are okay. I don't think the logo looks amazing when it's flipped onto its side, but I like the fade from the blue to the white to the blue again, the Matilda logo. I think the show takes up a very nice space on this marquee, and I think it does exactly what it needs to do. I think it's poppy, I think it's splashy, I think it's good. It's very good. And it's also got the added benefit of being a big family show that you want to take your kids to and get your photo with the marquee. That's in a space where you have the central roundabout bit where you can stand your kids so you can actually get a good photo of them doing the Matilda pose with the poster as well. There's a lot to like about Matilda. There's probably a few extra touches they could maybe make, but I think this is a pretty good marquee. 18, the Novello. Now, I don't know if the Novello is still going on the renovations. They kind of covered the entirety of that back lot in this sheet, which did look a little bit ugly, but they slapped a logo on it, so it looked fine. I'm going to go on the assumption that that is now gone and just speak about the venue as it is, or how it was before, because I very much like the Novello. The main, central tower bit is stunning, and the poster boards as well, so you've got a lot of spaces on that building to get good photos with. It's in a nice space to get a nice photo around the corner. It's a lot easier to get a photo of this theatre than it is the Aldwych, which is on the other side of the street. Probably because there's no massive tree in the way, but it's very nice. I liked it a little bit more with their special 25th anniversary logo, which I think was only up for a week, which is a bit of a shame because the darker blue I felt looked nicer against the building. But yeah, I would settle to about here. 17, the Fortune Theatre. Call me spoiled, but I've seen what Operation Mincemeat have done on Broadway, and I sit here and I go, why couldn't you do that for us? I think with the Fortune, they've given us some nice touches, but I don't really like it as a whole. The architecture of the building is nothing to write home about. There's random panels everywhere, and it doesn't look very nice. But I like some of the touches Operation Mincemeat have done. I think the yellow really pops against that building. They've made the panel at the top look nicer with the strip lights. You've got both the poster boards at the side and also the decal in the center. But you look at what they did on Broadway with the giant briefcases, and I kind of wish we had something similar here, honestly. Because while I like the squiggle logo, you do already have the poster boards on each side that are the squiggle logo. I would much rather that central center bit be a much bigger suitcase, because the one on there feels very, very small. We know they can do it. We know that they can deliver on a stunning marquee, because the Broadway one looks so good. And I don't know, there's just little touches about this. I wish there was more yellow light coming from behind the logo to make it pop against the building a bit more, because it doesn't fade in, but it does kind of, it doesn't pop as much as the poster boards do. It's okay, and I think they've definitely thought about this and added to the marquee more and more and more, which I do think gets it a nice high placement here, but I don't know, I'm fussy. 16, the lyric. Now, when I spoke about the Apollo and I said there was a theatre very similar to it that I think did it better, it's the lyric. I think the architecture of the lyric is weaker. There's no like cool statues on it, but do you know what? I think the size of the actual marquee centre bit makes it pop a lot more. I think it's got more space to play with along that entire stretch of the building. And also, I think Hadestown looks so good on there as they've taken the flower design and made it a kind of semi-3D effect where it slightly pops out over the top, making a theatre that can often look very samey actually have this added element that brings it all together so much more. It looks great in red. It really matches the black of that main marquee structure. I think if it wasn't Hadestown here, this theatre would be a hell of a lot lower, but I'm a little bit biased, and hey, I like it. I like it, what can I say? 15, the ambassadors. Now, I was ready to come on here and shout doom and gloom about the ambassadors, because the ambassadors used to be home to the Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which I think looked amazing on that marquee and had one of the best poster designs of a West End show ever. And so with it gone, I felt like there wasn't really anywhere left to go. However, I've got to admit, Paranormal Activity looks very good on that marquee. The black is really striking against the cream of the building, and obviously the architecture is still the same, and it looks very good. I like the touch of the neon logo at the bottom for Paranormal Activity as well, just to give it that extra little pop, and I really do think it does. I wanted to come on here and be like, the Ambassadors is awful now. Benjamin Button should come back, but actually, I have to admit that the Ambassadors is still fairly strong. Not as high as it was, definitely not, but still a very strong marquee. 14, the Savoy. Okay, now I am so excited for Paddington. I'm not seeing it until later. I'm going to have to book tickets at some point. I don't know when I'm going, but I'm so excited. But I have to admit, this marquee leaves a little bit more to be desired for me. I've seen what the Savoy can do. And honestly, I just miss a glitter board. Why was there not a glitter board? Could you not give us a Paddington glitter board? Could you not make the back wall glitter? I want the back wall to be glitter. Can't I have my Paddington being glittery, thank you? I think it looks good. The blue is very striking against that building. It's not bad. And I think its placement is very high. But I just think some of the other shows in that venue have looked a lot better on that marquee, which I think brings the Savoy back down to about here, in a very, very good placement still. 13, the Sondheim. 40 years on, Les Mis still looks good on its marquee. It's had many marquees over the years, even just at this venue it's had a couple different ones, but I think this one is really good. I love the blue on that building. I love the screen panels down the bottom. The way the barricade kind of pops out against the windows. It's a very cohesive marquee. And for a theatre that's kind of a very awkward shape, it plays with that space really, really well. This is a marquee that could be so much weaker, but it's got all these little touches that I feel like bring it up a lot higher, as well as just being very classic. There's also additional touches around the side. You can go down the street a little bit past the theatre, and they have this absolutely gorgeous painted wall with the Cosettes side by side, which does gain this show bonus points, leaving it in this placement, which I feel is very fitting for it. 12, the Playhouse, currently known as the Kit Kat Club, as it is home to Cabaret. Cabaret is a very thematic venue because of the immersive elements of the piece, which I feel like brings it higher than this theatre would normally place. They've covered all the panels of the windows with the Kit Kat Club logo. They've got the big neon sign up the top. It feels like the Kit Kat Club, and I've got to admit, I really appreciate that. Even going as far as removing any logos or designs or references to the name of the Playhouse on the building, except for the one where you're coming in from Charing Cross and you look at the building, you can see it painted on the back, but shh, it's not visible from the street, shh. This is how you theme a marquee to a show. My biggest complaint with this marquee is nothing to do with the marquee itself, and it's the fact that that one really annoying tree in front of the theatre is always covering the main logo, which I guess makes it look more mysterious, but also can they not just trim that tree a little bit? 11, Prince of Wales. I think I really underestimated the Prince of Wales last time, because it's a theatre that doesn't really have loads and loads of space to play with, but the more I've looked at it and the more I've thought about it, I'm actually very happy with how the Book of Mormon plays with this space. If you look at it, there is not a single window that is not covered on this gorgeous building, because it is stunning. This tower looks gorgeous. It doesn't even look too much like a theatre, honestly. But you've got the main logo panel towards the bottom there. Then the next windows up, you've got more Mormons there. Then as you go up, you've got the flashing quotes of hellos going all the way up the top with the doorbells on there as well, and the side panels, all leading towards the big center point of the marquee right at the top, which isn't the best if you're like right across the street, but if you're far away, you're going to see the Book of Mormon from miles away. There is so much here that I think really works, and I think it looks really nice for the Book of Mormon, actually, and I feel like I didn't give it credit last time. This is a very gorgeous theatre. One of my least favourite, like, in terms of architecture for Daveatron Macintosh, because Daveatron Macintosh theatres, if you look at them, they are very, very good. They are on top of their architecture, but still stunning. Number 10, the Phoenix Theatre. This is a marquee that could rank so much higher if it just had a few extra touches, because Stranger Things does look really good. I don't want to undersell the fact that Stranger Things does look good in that building. The side panels with the logo, you've got the pillars that have been covered up, you've got the red lighting and everything, and that's just on one side, because you also have the main structure of the building where the row of shops used to be, which is now the main gift shop for Stranger Things. And that brings you back round to the main box office entrance with the Stranger Things logo in neon on there. I think it looks good, but my main complaint about the Stranger Things thing is that I really wish they hadn't covered up the pillars. If you look back at the Phoenix Theatre in its past, it's had like neon signs that lean against those pillars, and I feel like they could have made this theatre look a little bit more like the Upside Down if they had like tendrils going around those pillars. That would have looked so cool, flowing out and flowing about. There's more they could have done with Stranger Things on this building, rather than just covering up, and I feel like the neon of it all would have really popped and really fit for Stranger Things. I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity, but with that said, it still looks very strong, and the Phoenix is one of my favourite theatres with the spaces that it has, and I always love when new shows go into there to see how they play around with that. Number 9, the Prince Edward. One of the most gorgeous theatres, may I just say. The art decor elements on it, stunning. I think MJ looks very good in that building. The striking red, those screens that light up the entire street. I feel like when Beetlejuice comes in here, if Beetlejuice has a very good marquee, then, oh boy, we have a contender for like top 5 on here. Which that top 5 is very difficult to crack into. I'm not gonna lie. But I think from an architecture standpoint, this is one of my favorite theaters. The art decor of it all looks so good. You've got the balcony section on there as well. You've got the MJ sign that looks nice. I don't think every show looks amazing on that marquee, just because of the very specific shape of it. And honestly, that's another reason why I'm a little bit worried about Beetlejuice on there, because that logo looks a lot better when it's all on one line, rather than how they're going to have to break it up a little bit more on that marquee. But currently, looks very good. Very happy to have it this high. Number 8, the Apollo Victoria. Wicked is a classic. Wicked looks great. The glitter board is stunning. Huge statement piece. Obviously, you have the other side of the building, the other entrance, where the marquee looks less great. So we're just focused on the main side right now. They have another poster above the door, which is another poster of the logo, which I kind of wish they were a bit more creative. Wicked has been in the theatre for 19 years now, almost 20. You could give us a map of Oz on there or something a little bit cooler, because when you get a photo of that marquee, you have Wicked sign and smaller Wicked sign. I don't know, it feels a bit unnecessary. The building looks great in green, it's lit up. I feel like some of the architecture could do with a bit of sprucing up. It could do with a bit of a clean. It's not like the best looking, but it's still very, very strong. And I like Wicked on there a lot. Number 7, the Gielgud. Home to Oliver. This is what I wanted from the Gielgud, just these little additional touches that add so much. First of all, Oliver has added its logo above the door of that theatre, kind of curving round a bit, adding an extra element to it and making it pop. It's most reminiscent of the Tina logo from the Old Witch last year, but I feel like the red of it pops a lot more. Honestly, I just like marquees that are red. You're going to see a lot of red marquees end up high on this list. They've used the window space very well. You got the logo, you got the screen that is just above the doors there, and architecturally stunning. It's not got like the best placement in the world, but my god, they use it, and the curve of that building and everything looks great. And also, just like its neighbor, they have now added a painted mural on the side of the building which depicts the Oliver logo. Lots of great touches here, a great way to spruce up the Gielgud. I'm very happy to place it right here. Number 6, the Gillian Lynn. Oh my god, last year I was so sad. I was so sad because the Gillian Lynn is my favourite theatres from an outside perspective, from a marquee, because of how much space they got to play with and how different it looks. But the thing about what was in there last year, which I believe was the Layman's Trilogy, is because it was only a short run, they only cover 3 of the window panels. And when they do that, it looks so ugly. It looks so ugly if you don't cover the majority of those panels. But now, with My Neighbor Totoro being a longer running show in that theatre, it is back to its glory. Look at it. The green complements that building so well. I love the slight asymmetrical nature of the building where the shot out marquee bits is slightly ajar from the main window structure up the top. I love how they've given us different designs on each side. One side is the main logo poster, and then the other side we have a closer up on Satsuki and Mei. It's so cute, so adorable. The slight shades of green look so good. They've used the space at the bottom with all those shops and the actual space that they have really, really well. Oh, this looks so good. This looks so good. This theatre is back on top where it deserves to be. Number 5. The Palace, and we're going to speak about The Commitments, the previous show at the theatre. This theatre has a lot of space that they can play with, as they often put these large structures on top of the building. The building itself looks quite nice with these this wall of windows just going up and up and up. It looks huge, but the main frontage is always the thing that pushes it to the top. For The Commitments, we had this huge logo lit up in red. I love a red marquee. As well as this drum set and the instruments that were strewn on the top, which, oh my god, that is so cool. Look, you put novelty things on the top of your marquee, and I'm going to be impressed, and I'm gonna give you a little clap. I'm gonna give you an applause. It looks great, it looks stunning, the building looks great as well. It's got the space to play with, and I feel like The Commitments play with it as much as it could. Number 4, the Shaftesbury Theatre. Home to Just for One Day, and we'll speak about it just for one day. This is a theatre that ranked a lot lower than I wanted it to last time. It was home to Doubtfire, which I liked elements of that marquee, but I didn't love how it all came together. This one, this comes together. First of all, the building itself, gorgeous. The tower, the structure, it's got so much space. It's on this like this island all to itself, basically. And it's used that space so well with the sides, decals. You've got the big poster boards on the side, which currently have all the artists in the show on one side. On the other side, a statement about how this one day changed the world, whatever, the day music changed the world, wherever it says. You have the panels above the door, which look really great in the blue of Just for One Day. But the main thing that pushes this all the way to the top is that central part. Oh my god, they have the back panel that is like the blue and the white dots, and then they have the Live Aid guitar. And if you go and see this theatre at night, you'll notice that the strings on the guitar light up one by one. It's so cool. It looks so good. It's so striking. It goes far and beyond just that little central bit. This theatre always looks so good. And when they get it right, they can strike gold. And oh my god, they struck it with this. This is stunning. Number 3, and it may surprise you, we have last year's champion, which I do feel like has gone down ever so slightly. This is the Piccadilly Theatre, currently home to Moulin Rouge. I love this marquee. I'll say that right now. I just think there's two marquees for me personally that have kind of gone just above it. And I'll speak about that now. I think Moulin Rouge is one of the most gorgeous marquees. As I said, I love a red marquee. And we have both the main Moulin Rouge logo that sits above the main doors. You have the extra one that goes along the side of the building. It's flashy, it's stunning. What I will say is that they've removed the actual windmill. The windmill on the logo, on the exclamation mark, used to actually spin around and used to be an actual windmill. And for a while now, they haven't had an actual windmill on there, which I think is a real shame because it was a really cool little extra touch to that marquee. The lights look great, the yellow and everything. They have the panel that runs along the side, which they also switch out during Pride Month to be Pride Month themed as well, which is really cool. They've used the space incredibly well and it looks great in red. It used to be my favourite, but I think there's just two theatres where the marquees have played a bit more, and now that I'm looking back on them, I feel a little bit more up on. Number 2, the Dominion Theatre, home to the Devil Wears Prada. Now, last year when I ranked this marquee had just gone up, and there was a couple of things that were nagging me a little bit. They hadn't lit the shoe properly. We hadn't seen what that marquee could fully do. Now we have, and now we've had a year to dwell on it. I think the Devil Wears Prada is one of the finest marquees that we have. The renovations they've done to bring the Dominion back to having that central marquee thing instead of like the shooting out sideways screens that they had is so well done. I love the space that it has. Those screens really pop. The shoe looks incredible now, and when it's lit up, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I love getting off at Tottenham Court Road and just turning around and looking at that marquee. Another thing this marquee can do, I don't love the fact it's all screens, but one thing it can do with that is if the Dominion has like one night shows, they can change everything about the theatre except the shoe to theme it to the show of the evening as well, which makes one night events feel even stronger. It makes them able to have like their own space in the West End as well, which I think is really cool. It's a very flexible space. I honestly just wish, my one thing, I wish the screens by the doors were more traditional posters. I know it allows for more flexibility on that bit as well, but those are your best kind of points to get like a good photo with the theatre. And I feel like it's a bit of a shame that, you know, there's something a bit grainy. The screens on this building are a lot worse than the screens on somewhere like at Soho Place. These ones in photos come off a lot more grainy. And I feel like that's a little bit of a shame. And I think it's one of the only things that stops it from getting number 1. So what is my favourite marquee currently in the West End? You may be a bit surprised because this one ranked very low last time, but I told you in the last ranking, when this theatre hits its stride, it can do incredible things. My favourite marquee in the West End right now, number 1, the Criterion Theatre, currently home to Titanic. Shall we go for it, girlfriends? Let's do it. Titanic looks so good. Oh my god. They have put a boat. They have put a boat on the Criterion Theatre. I think this is a theatre that when they have like a short runner and they only use the kind of circular board, it does kind of look a little bit boring. Which I think is a shame because it is a gorgeous venue. It doesn't have loads of space to play with, but the actual architecture of the building is stunning. You have these pillars that go up towards the side. You have the statues in the kind of curvature of the building. And there's a lot of space in front of it to get great photos with the space as well. I love the paneling on the actual like toppage of the building, the green and the Criterion Theatre logo. It always looks really, really nice. But the way that Titanic has put itself onto that building is so funny. It's so good. And it's so fitting for that show that I'm like, how could it not be this? How could this not be my favourite? The pop of the Titanic logo, the way that Lauren Drew is now sat in that building, as she should be. It's silly, it's funny, it looks so good. I love this one to bits, and I think it goes just above Dominion and the Piccadilly for me, within the fact that this is so fitting for the show itself as well. It's a great looking marquee. It's a great thematic marquee. It is currently my favourite West End marquee. But that is my ranking in 2025. I'll see you again in 2026 when I do this once more. And I'll add, like, the Lyric Hammersmith as well. Maybe the Colosseum. We haven't had a tenant in the Colosseum put up their banners properly yet, so that's why I didn't include it. But we have more West End venues to add, so let me know any other London theatres you would love to see me add to the ranking next year. Let me know your favourites and your least favourite West End marquees. Rank it along in the comments if you want. If you want to rank all 47 of these, please be my guest. I would love to see your dedication. Let me know all your thoughts on this in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like, subscribe. It really helps me out to the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you'd like to let me follow over there. And a huge thank you to our channel members who support everything I do over here. Their names are on the screen right now. But that's it for me today, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!